okay. That's okay. That's okay. So I was telling you that this workshop has been organized by the Holistic E-Learning Platform, Coordinated Help, and many of you have come across that acronym. And it is under, again, what we call the Holistic E-Learning Project. And that project is supported by Uganda Communications Commission. And we also have our friends, RENEW, Research Education Network Uganda, and we shall go into those details later. You have been invited here specifically by your subject, and you have been approached by someone. You are either, we are in so many categories, and maybe I'll go into those categories a little later. We'll start with some introduction so that we know who is here, and briefly name probably school and subjects that will do. I would like to, first of all, invite my colleagues to come after me, my colleagues from the project implementation team at HELP, so that we do that introduction first, and then we can go to the other participants. So by name, my name is Ronald Dungu. I'm an educationist, physics maths teacher, but working with the National Teachers Colleges now, and I'm leading on this program. So I welcome you and thank you for joining. May I invite Ayub Kalema to introduce himself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ayub Goloba Kalema. I am a teacher of geography and ICT at Nabisunsa Girls School. I'm also a member of the project implementation team. I am not yet in position to switch on my camera because I'm still in a different background. So I'll eventually switch to and be able to switch on. Otherwise, I'm very delighted to see the people that I've reached out to, Mr. Chiganda, Mr. Mbasani, Mr. Wambare, Mr. Namdala, all people in the ICT fraternity and the geography fraternity. Most welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ayub. May I invite Alan Kakinda to introduce himself?
Morning, everyone. My name is Alan Kakinda. I'm also part of the project implementation team, and I provide M&D support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. And we shall introduce Matthias, who is our key speaker today. And if anyone else from the PIT joins in, we shall be able to introduce them. So may I now invite Solomon Asea. The way I see you on the screen is how I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself. Solomon Asea, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dungu. I am Solomon Asea, a geography teacher, and I do teach at St. Mary's College, Kisubi. And I've been engaged in some online tutoring as far as help is concerned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Solomon. Mike Mbayo. Mike, your microphone. Mike.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Dungu. My name is Mike Bayo. I'm a geography teacher at Destiny Eagle Secondary School, Katende in Mpigi District. I'm a member of the geography team on the Holistic E-Learning Platform. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Jambu, Mr. Chijambu, please go ahead. Mike.
Good morning, friends.
Mike, Mike, can you mute yourself, Mike?
Can I?
Okay, Mr. Chijambo, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, friends. This is Chijambo Joseph. I'm an education officer at Gaza High School. I'm a teacher of physics and math. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Stephen Mbasani.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen Donald Mbasani. I'm a teacher at Kololo Senior Secondary School. I'm a teacher of geography and history. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. We now move on to Stephen Kaziba.
My name is Stephen Kaziba, a teacher of physics and math at Taiba International School.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Martha Nalubowa.
My name is Nalubowa Martha, NK, and I'm a teacher at Gaza High School, chemistry math. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Abdu Chiganda.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Abdu Chiganda at Nabismusa Girls School. I teach fine art and ICT. I am the focal person there. Thank you.
Okay. Charles Njala.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Njala Charles Ruanga, a teacher of ICT, a facilitator in Itau and Edify Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Abubakar Namdala.
My name is Namdala Bakal. I'm a teacher of history and geography in Nabismusa Girls School.
Okay, thank you, Abubakar. Maria Goretti. Maria Goretti.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Javira Marie Goretti, a teacher of physics and math at Gaza High School.
Thank you. Charles Mangeni.
Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Mangeni. I'm a teacher of geography based at Gaza High School. Thank you.
Okay. Henry Joseph Kajimo.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Henry Joseph Kajimu, a teacher of mathematics at Our Lady of Good Counsel, Gayaza. I am a member of the math team here. Thank you.
Okay, Joram Bwambale, the first man to join this call today.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Joram Bwambale, an ICT teacher at St. Mary's College, Kisubi. Thank you.
Mr. Ambayo. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be very important for us to lock our mics when we are not speaking. David Matovu.
Thank you, Ronald. My name is David Matovu Kisubika, a teacher of ICT and computer studies, educationist. I've been so much engaged in assessment of learners at all levels, A and O level. I currently work with the Uganda College of Commerce in Kololo and Mpoma Girls School. Thank you.
Okay, Peter Subuga.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Dungu. Thank you for this opportunity. I welcome all members to this meeting. I'm Peter Nsubuga, a teacher of physics and math at Wampe Ontake Secondary School.
Okay, thank you, Doreen Nachibuye.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. My name is Nachibuye Doreen from Busoga College, Mwezi, a teacher of physics and mathematics there.
Okay, thank you. Namubiru Rahima.
Thank you. Namubiru Rahima a teacher of physics, mathematics at Bisonsa Girls School.
Thank you. Geoffrey Chizito.
Thank you, Mr. Dungu. My name is Chizito Geoffrey, a teacher at King's College, Budo. I also work with Menga SS. I'm a member of the ICT team. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Diana Nalubega.
Thank you very much. My name is Nalubega Diana, a teacher of biology at Ginger Senior Secondary School. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Charles Kagoye.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Dung and the rest of the members. I am Charles Dominic Kagwe, a teacher of geography at the Sacred Heart Chiterede in Chotera.
And Charles Kakaire.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kakaire Charles, a teacher at Soga College Mwiri. I teach French, ICT, and computer studies. Thank you.
Okay, if there is anyone we have not listened to apart from Matthias Murumba, please go ahead and introduce yourself. But I think we have listened to everyone. We are so far 26 in number in this meeting. We hope the number might grow going forward. But like we said, that the communication could have reached many late, so we may not be able to have all of them here. I can see Vincent Chiza. I think Vincent has not introduced himself. Vincent, go ahead. Vincent, are you hearing us? Just joining. Well, maybe at the end of the first session, we will be able to hear from the others we've not heard from. So ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you to this session. And it is a series, of workshops that we'll have. Actually, we should have 8 sessions, but they're going to be staggered depending on the availability and the time. I also want to note that connectivity can be an issue to all of us, but when I drop or when you drop, we hope that the meeting will continue. So I would like to maybe give a brief, but I'm not going to go into quite a lot of brief. The other briefs we shall do with time. But why are we here? Briefly, the team that is being constituted here is almost in 3 or 4 subjects, mathematics, physics, geography, and ICT, and maybe other subjects. And this is a capacity development trajectory that we are going to conduct over 8 sessions. And what is very important to us is at the end of the 8 sessions, we will be able to have people who can develop subject-based digital content for the e-learning platform, of course, under the guidance of your team leaders and mentorship, but also to be able to facilitate online and virtual-led seminars. So those 2 should be at the back of our mind. But then as we think about those 2 things, then there are quite a few important experiences that we must go through. So this morning, we are delighted to have our expert from National Curriculum Development Center, and it's going to support us in understanding COB's experiential learning model, which has been adopted by NCDC in the development of the instructional materials. We would like to consider this model within the materials you are going to develop. We would have wanted also to get an experience from an exposition from Adi's model, but we didn't manage to get our preferred expert, but maybe the members here could have experience in that, and they may give us an exposition. But in future, when we manage to do that, then we will get that expert coming to us. In our second session, we would have wanted to have an exposition to how Ministry of Education is evaluating materials, but we may defer that for today because of planning. And our third session, which is going to be our second session today, is orientation to the e-learning platform sample courses. We will see if we can divide up into groups for the different subjects, such that we can have an exposition, orientation to our e-learning platform, so that by the end of it all, participants understand the structure, components, and layout of sample courses for purposes of benchmarking and cross-team learning. So we will see whether we are dividing up in groups or we shall keep within the plenary. But let us first of all go into the very first session. And this session is going to run from now 9:30 for the next 2 hours. We shall have a break and go for lunch, and then we will resume at 2:30 p.m. for the second session. And before we go for lunch, we will agree also on how we handle the afternoon session. We do intend to provide airtime or data for these sessions. So we shall request that when you are registering, you use the number you want to receive that data money. It will come in form of money, and then you will be able to buy your data. I wish you fruitful deliberations. And now I would like to introduce our presenter this morning, Mr. Matthias Mulumba. Mr. Matthias Mulumba is a renowned educationist. He has been around for some time. I'm just opening his introduction PowerPoint here so that I can ably talk about Matthias Mulumba for that. So let me see if I will be able to do this. Okay, just give me a minute. Mr. Ayub, I'm going to send this. I don't know if you are back, Mr. Ayub. I will also send this presentation, Matthias, to you, so that in case I'm off, we don't fail to continue with our work here. So let me do that. Okay. I can feel, please, the co-hosts, that you help me there. Help me with the microphones for members. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Should we just mute everyone? Okay, maybe that is better for now. That is better for now. Technology teaches us how to do things. Okay, so just tell me what you can't tell me because you're unmuted. But I hope now I'm talking about Matthias Mulumba. Matthias Mulumba is an experienced curriculum developer and specialist, and is the team leader in the sensitization of stakeholders about the new reviewed lower secondary curriculum. Is a seasoned agriculture educator and a champion of experiential learning, applied learning, design thinking, constructivism, and competence-based education and training. Of course, I cannot talk more about Matthias, otherwise we shall spend the whole day here, but I've worked with him on several fronts in agriculture, but also in general teacher training. And we are happy that Matthias has given us his time. I don't know if we'll be able to spend all the 2 hours with us, but Matthias, you are most welcome. And I'm going to stop sharing that for now. Make sure your microphone can open and give you a chance to start talking. Then I will bring back the presentation, Matthias. Matthias, over to you.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ronald, and the team that has enabled us to converge and share about designing instructional materials. I would request that, Ronald, you project the slides as I move. So slide 1 should be projected, and I'm introducing the topic, a concrete experience in designing instructional materials or textbooks. So members, have a look at what you see on the screen, your screens, and I'm giving only a few seconds, then we move to the next slide. We move to the next slide. I hope they have seen what is on the screen, so we can move to the next slide.
Okay, let me, there?
Yeah, we are there. So members can write in the chat room, what have you seen? Or what do you see below? In the chat room, we open the chat room such that people can write. We are giving them 2 minutes to do that. And I will get a few hands after the 2 minutes. So by 9:35, we should be going to hands. So in the chat room, what did you see up, or what have you seen below? So the minutes are over. Now I want some hands from the participants to tell us through their mouth what they have seen in the first picture and this second picture here. The team can help me get the hands. Anybody whose hand is up?
I don't see any hands.
Yeah, they are there. Mbasani, I have seen Mbasani should tell us.
Mr. Ayubu Kalema, can you support this session?
Mbasani.
Mr. Dungu, I have a challenge that there are people who have failed to log in because the meeting was set to require login. If we could disable that, we would have the other participants log in. So I'm not able to support, I'm supporting the others to log in. Thank you.
Okay. Mbasani, can you unmute and tell us?
Mbasani, please unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I saw people in a church in the first chat. In the second picture, I see somebody kneeling down, like he or she is praying, and somebody is drawing something on a board. Thank you.
Okay, Solomon Asea.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I saw in the first picture, someone kneeling as if was praying. Then in the other one, someone is drawing something. Thank you.
Okay. Peter says a hand holding a pen. Martha says a man kneeling. Joseph says someone is sketching. Stephen Basandi says someone praying. Abubakar saying someone is praying. Peter Subuga is saying a picture of a man kneeling and praying. Doreen says a boy is praying. Geoffrey says a hand holding a pen and a man praying. Solomon says some drawing. And then David says someone seemingly engaging in prayer to the Almighty.
Okay, all participants, thank you very much. We are now, that one is called an advanced organizer. It prepares you for the next activity. So let us move to the next activity. Ronald, we move to the next activity. Slide, the next slide.
Is that the one?
So this is the activity we are going into. People have mentioned that there is somebody praying, people in a church, all of them are expression of worship. So what are the different ways people in our communities worship God? Can we go again? We are answering those two questions. How similar or different is it from that shown above or in the previous slides? So we are answering the two questions concurrently in the chat room. And we are giving ourselves 2 minutes. Let us move to the chat room and answer the two questions. We open the chat room. What are the different ways people in our community worship God? And how similar or different is it from that shown above? So by 9:41, we should be done. I don't see people writing in the chat room. Now the answers have started coming. Good. Let us continue. So I'm not seeing the answer. How is it similar? Are they the same? How similar or different is it from that shown above? Namubiri wants to say something. Is it true?
Hello?
Hello, Namubiru.
Yes. In my community, most people worship while singing.
Okay, for now, let us stop at that and we move to the next slide. We move to the next slide, Ronald. I've seen people have told us that you can fast, you can say the rosary, you can sing, you can do charity, you can do Bible studies, you can do testimonies, you can do worship God by sharing. And it is similar in the sense that people gather in a worship center. It is people go to the places of worship, and but not everyone worships God by kneeling. So, Ronald, we move to the next slide. And Ronald.
Yes, sorry.
Next slide.
Okay.
I would like to emphasize here that whatever you have said is called brainstorming in writing or developing an instructional material. You need a team to come together and they brainstorm, bring ideas of the topic. And they must be an advanced organizer. You must have the concept, the concrete concept. And the concrete concept is worship. So as you write the introduction, the ideas you brainstorm don't come into play, but you write them in a language that is similar to what I have here in the slide of introduction. So for this one, I've used this style. There are different styles we can use. And I'm saying, when you have a friend, what things do you do together? What things keep you together? You probably make a good relationship. This arrangement may start with greeting each other. You talk with your friend, and sometimes you converse about things you like. Friends respect and trust each other. Why is it so important to talk and listen to your friend? So that is the reflection question that comes as the flow of ideas appear. Most then introducing the relationship people make with God. God becomes their friend and their lifelong partner. So most believers make a similar relationship with their God. What things do they do to keep a relationship with God? And they express by fasting, by rosary, by singing, as you've mentioned above. Among the things they do is prayer, which we started with. Prayer is something they do. And the picture above was about prayer, somebody needing to pray. So it comes out, you must build a story. And this story should be part of your brainstorming. And the brainstorming started with that advanced organizer and tried to concretize the idea by the 2 questions that were posed. In brainstorming, every idea is correct, but we find the right time to use it. So in the first 3 slides, I was trying to look for the word prayer and how and when to use it. Next, Ronald. So to build up your paragraph, you needed to tell us what are the different forms of worship in your community. I hope we have different forms of worship. How similar or different would people worship in 2030? That is a challenging question that could come in your text, because we would like the learners to create knowledge from the concrete experience. Now, this is how they are praying. How does it work many years to come? I can also use a different style that I have the topic 2 and I have driving questions. What are the driving questions that I'm going to write about? And the driving question here, if I've said Christian practices, one of them is to pray. But I say, how do Christians worship? Again, your answers become very, very correct. The Christians fast, the Christians say the rosary, they sing, they do charity, they do testimonies, they read the Bible, they do sharing with others what they have, and many other things. What are the differences in the types of Christian worship? So we can differentiate singing from reading the Bible and so on. It is clear. Then, can you name 5 things that people worship? So that is a challenge, similar to how similar or different will people worship in 2030. They are all driving questions. They are not part of the content, but you are reflecting on them and you are brainstorming such that you drive the concept of worship among the users of your material. So if they are not driving questions, what you write may not flow well. And in the writing, we would expect the writer to set driving questions for the concept. The big idea is the concept. And here the big idea is worship. And I've decided to lean on Christianity, but the theme is the same for Islamic religious education. I could just only remove Christians and say Islamic practices, if I'm right. Ayub will correct me. Then I say, how do Muslims worship? And what are the differences in the types of worship by Muslims? Can you name 5 things that people worship in your community, for instance? Or if I got this driving question and said, how similar or different would Muslims worship by 2030 or in 2030? Will they worship the same way we are worshiping? Currently now I can conclude this slide by asking you, how are we worshiping since the lockdown? Some hands. I would like to get some hands on that question. How are we worshiping since the lockdown?
Some hands.
Yes, Stephen.
Sometimes we worship on television.
Good. So we are using television.
Yes.
Another hand is Kagoye Dominic.
Yeah, we collect people at our homes and the families and pray from home in our
We are
dining.
praying from. Yes, then Asaya.
Yeah, I was also going to say the same thing, praying from home.
Then Doreen, how are we worshiping?
We share, we gather ourselves and we share, and even on radios.
On radios. Then yes. Matovu should tell us how similar is it to the traditional way we have been worshiping, or how different is it?
The old model, thank you, Matthias. The old model has been that people can only pray from places of worship, either by going to a church or going to a mosque for prayers. But now, people are having a modern view of it, that you can even hold prayers from your home. And God can listen.
We have Mbayo and Edik, and then Abeka and Namdala would be the last one for now. So let us start with Mbayo. Mbayo, unmute and tell us.
Thank you so much, facilitator. It is different in the sense that nowadays people are worshiping, they move from home to home instead of gathering in one place of worship.
Great. Then Eddie Mugalu, unmute.
Thank you so much. During the lockdown, we are using social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube to access church online. Unlike in those days before the lockdown, where we had to go to church and then meet the pastors there. Thank you.
Namdara?
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at the similarity. We are still worshiping the same God.
Good. So you realize that worshiping continues. It is still the big idea of worship. The way it is done only has changed the form in some way, but as Namdala has put it, the concept is the same, but it's being implemented in different ways during lockdown. Traditionally, you knew that you have to move to the church or to the mosque, and then you express your worship to God in that designated place. Now, we can use other ways to express our relationship with God in those places where we find ourselves. Some people have walked to different homes, others gather in one home and do it where they are sure they are social distancing and the number is not big. So they are doing that. Others are using the social media. They are using the technology. They are using the WhatsApp, the Facebook, and so on. Let us move to the next slide, Donald, and we conclude that session. So,
going to my gadget loader now.
Okay. There are many different ways in which Christians worship God. Worship is any act that shows devotion or love for God, ranging from praying at home to attending a church service. Christians can be involved in all of the four ways of these forms of worship. Okay, I had picked four, but there are many ways. And what am I doing? The other questions bring out this. This is what the text will look like. That there are many different ways, and we have brainstormed on them. The worship is our act of devotion or love to God. And we can do it at home. Already you have mentioned that. But I'm turning all those ideas that we have brainstormed on into a text. And that text is supported by a picture. So I'm trying to say the first one, we are worshiping, that's the big idea, and taking the forms. In the first picture, you do not see Jesus. Now in this picture, Jesus is visible. The people reading the prayer are visible. And we are saying it can be in the church service. So the church service is here. The text is speaking to the picture. And so on and so forth. So you find that the text of worship is not only saying, let us go to church, all of us, and then we show you how worship occurs. But we are bringing it close to the users of the text. The people who are going to read this text, if they look at this picture and they look at the accompanying sentences here, do they speak to each other? And is it short? Because I'm not here describing, this is how the church starts. There must be somebody leading the church in the prayers in the church. We must have a place where we have, I've only said, attending a church service. I'm not saying there should be a room designated and painted and decorated. Those decorations are already seen. And how the leader and the people who are attending the service appear also is shown in the picture. So we can conclude this as we move to the next slide by saying, if I want to do digital e-content or the e-content approach, now I've shown you that I can ask people who have digital tools to go to their digital Bible. And if they are learners, I'm giving them one activity to go and read particular verses. And they make findings. If we want to know from the Bible perspective, dancing as a form of worship, then we go to somewhere. If we wanted to see how sacrifice to God occurs, then I go to the Romans. In this way, how people are serving other people, there is the Corinthians. All of these verses, I can pick any of them and assign them to either groups of learners, and when they come back with the findings, when they read the verses and the chapters, they will come back with the findings, how it has been said in the Bible. So in that way, the learners will be concretizing what I've already written up in the text about worship. And when they concretize it, it will, if we bring back the question, how is it similar? What is said in the Bible, how is it similar to what is being done today in your community? Then the concept of worship will have been brought to life, to reality, and its application today. I want to jump away from that topic and give another example. And this one is from agriculture. let us move to the next slide. So for agriculture, the text is the one that is beginning. That is what I've started with. And when you read it, I say people of long ago lived by doing many activities. What did they do? They did hunt, get fish, and gather. This should have been wild plant roots and fruits. Some people used to move from place to place in order to get what to eat. Bushes could be set on fire. Nets were used to catch some animals. Do you find such activities around your community? So it is a reflection. Now I've told them a story, and that story is chronological. It is historical in nature. So when we are introducing any concept, we must have an approach. And here the approach I'm using is a historical, chronological order. So, and now I pose the question to bring it to reality. Is it still there in your community? Do people set fire on bushes? Then the learners will say, oh, this was also practiced in the past. Then do people move from place to place looking to get what to eat? It is very common. All of us, we are doing it. We got the market, or you like where I live, people go to the fish, to get fish from the lake, and they are looking for food. So whenever getting food became difficult, people had to move on. This means in the past, nature provided food, fuel, and fiber to people. So I'm trying to define agriculture the way it happened in the past. And the text speaks to that. So the big idea here is agriculture. There is growing, there are growing plants and there are animals. That is the text. But for a senior one, a 13-year-old, do these sentences speak to the learner? Is the question enclosed in this paragraph? Oh, the question is here, enclosed. Are they challenging the learner? Do they entice the learner to think about the topic? So that is how we can move next, Ronald, the next part. So here, what do you see? I can get some hands. Some hands, or people writing in the chat room. Some hands from the participants.
I think there are hands already.
Hey, I've not.
Okay.
Hey.
Okay, in the first picture, I can see some rearing of goats. Then in the second picture, there's there are coffee cherries.
Coffee cherries. Good.
Yeah.
In which state are they?
There are some that are ripe, they are red, while others are green.
Yeah. Good. I see also in the chat people talking about animal rearing, farming, coffee. Some are saying maybe sheep and goats. Then we have coffee beans, ripe coffee beans, healthy coffee plant, and so on. Ronald, we can move to the next picture. So again, what do you see? Somebody milking has come in. Cabbage growing, cabbage garden. Okay. Harvesting cabbage, one milking. A man carrying cabbage. So let us conclude on that and say the two pictures are now trying to show the current situation other than the historical one that we looked at, but I've put it in the form of pictures, two sets of pictures, one where we had rearing of animals in an organized place, then having a coffee plant with berries or cherries that are ripe, and below, now I make the value chain. The value chain is that when you have done the first part, you harvest the product. The second set of pictures is about harvesting. There you have cared for the crop, you have cared for the animal, and here you do harvesting. Harvesting, and I've used the cabbage to show. Instead of coffee, I brought cabbage because there are very many enterprises. And here I brought cattle because many people mentioned goat and sheep in the first one, and here I have brought cattle, and there is a product being harvested of milk. Here the cabbage has been harvested. In the cabbage picture, you see the person is even transporting. We are going into post-harvest handling. How do you handle the product after you have harvested it? Milk is collected in a pail, and the milkman is there squatting, is wearing gumboots, they are clear. I'm also looking at observing occupational health, safety, and environmental protection standards that we need. If we go further, I'm also bringing out HACCP. What are the critical hazard analysis, critical control points? We need to look at them. Are they being observed or they are not in the cabbage, also in the milk? So I'm bringing the complete chain of agriculture today. It could become even more advanced as we move forward. But my question before we go, by raising your hand, what occupation do you see in the two pictures that are showing on the screen right now? What two occupations are being shown here in the picture? Two occupations by show of hands. Somebody is saying a farmer. Which kind of farmer? In the chat room, I've seen the word farmer. Which kind of farmer? Kaziva, can you tell us by raising your hand and sharing?
There are some hands already.
Hey, the first one, go ahead.
I'm seeing that we have farming, and secondly, we have trading.
Trading, okay. Another one, another hand.
Yes,
Dorin, Dorin is done. Then it's Asea.
I can see horticulture.
Horticulture.
Then there is a dairy farming.
Dairy farming. Yes. Another one. Another hand. Another hand. I'm waiting for the hands. So what product do we see in picture 1 such that we conclude this slide? What product do we see in picture 1?
We see cabbage.
Cabbage. Cabbage is in which group? Cabbage is in which group?
The group of vegetables.
So right now, that is a good answer. Vegetables makes this first picture to depict a vegetable farmer. The occupation is a vegetable farmer. And in the second one, as mentioned earlier, the picture is depicting a dairy farmer. And that is the nomenclature we use to describe farmers. We can use the big name. Somebody said horticulture farmer, but horticulture is a balloon of very many things. Vegetable is also still a very big balloon. You can talk about a cabbage farmer. So that you are very, very specific. And the two types of farmers can be an occupation for somebody from day 1 until you die. And you are doing that to earn a living and to provide society with food and also to contribute to your well-being. So this is the nomenclature that in the new lower secondary curriculum where we shall be assessing even learners in these occupations. We shall be looking for who is a vegetable farmer. You start from establishing the garden until you do post-harvest handling. If you are a dairy farmer, how did you start with the animal up to harvesting the product? Then it becomes clear. That is the value chain. And that's how the new lower secondary curriculum is linked to real life. How the teaching in the agriculture should be linked to real life. That the children know that the end product is the market, and we would like to see what do you take to the market. I would like to go to the next slide, and I'm asking you to name 10 other occupations in your community other than those two, the cabbage farmer and the dairy farmer. Can you tell us 10 other occupations? We can go hand by hand, maybe the first hand to tell us one occupation, then another occupation in our community. What are the occupations in our community? Somebody said banana farmer, good. Here in the chat room. That is one. Pig farmer, two. Rabbit, sugarcane, bee, and somebody said poultry farming, but we call them poultry farmers. The number is not yet 10. Broiler, yes, it's part of poultry, layers, and the metal fabricator, correct? Fish, brick layer, goat, and now we are there. We have 10 occupations. So if I've posed that question to younger people, that is the driving question. What am I telling the younger people? That in your community, there are jobs that people do to earn a living, and they also bring out products that society needs. So, and that is part of introduction to agriculture. Agriculture, many of you know, provides employment to many people, over 80% of the population in Uganda, while about 70% of them are engaged in the subsistence agriculture. They do the day-to-day activities of their life is to engage in rearing crops and growing animals. And in the big idea there is a career, yes?
There is a hand from David. I don't know if it was previous. Or...
Okay, David, tell us.
Yes, Mr. Murumba.
Yeah.
I would love you to clarify on something. When you asked about the occupations, someone mentioned poultry farming, and you casually corrected it as a poultry farmer. Where is the difference? Is what I wanted to know, because some of these things we take them lightly, but they cross-cut through all our disciplines. Thank you.
You are welcome.
May I add? May I add something?
Yes, you can add.
Can somebody be a broiler poultry farmer? Specifically.
Specifically. Let me now start from poultry is a big group of birds that we rear. It includes the hens, the ducks, the guinea fowls, and so on. That is poultry. And you can become a layer bird farmer, a broiler bird farmer, because that is specific. There is one product that you will bring out, main products, because there may be some other small products that accompany the main product, the main focus of your enterprise. If a poultry farmer is broad, it has many other ducks are also there. Turkeys are also part of poultry. So poultry is very, very wide. So if you say poultry farming, now you are covering very many things. And the specific enterprises is a layer farmer. And we know that the main product is eggs. And eggs are the ones you put to the market. Then broiler farmer. Specifically, we know you are rearing birds for meat. So a farmer, in this sense, speaks to which product are you putting on the market. That is the nomenclature. We look at it, we call it product classification system. The product classification system looks at which product do you put on the market for sale. And it is the one used to define an occupation, which product. Then activities you engage in can be bigger. Like I said, you can be horticulture, but horticulture has vegetables, and there is a range of vegetables. It has flowers, a range of different types of flowers. It has spices, a range of them. So out of these, we can say carrot farmer. We know you will bring the carrots to the market. And that is how the product classification system works to define the occupations. I want to say that I asked you to identify 10 other occupations in your community. And what I was trying to say that the children should not only focus on the cabbage, which I've shown in the picture, the cow. There are many others that people do. And when I was teaching Matovu, I remember when we are still younger people with Matovu, we said that agriculture provides employment, and employment are the occupations. But when you are still in school, you look for what will you do to earn a living and live a comfortable life. In terms of school, we call it a career, and I wanted to introduce that, and this is what the text here below is speaking. So the driving question is the occupation is in your community, because we want these learners also to choose a career. So people take care of their crops or animals, and that gives them occupations. They select all natural crops and animals, so you must choose which particular product. A good number or big volumes of the products are harvested. To some, this is their main activity. It enables the people to earn a living, and these people enjoy what they do. So somebody may be doing something, it may not be even so economical, but they enjoy it. And then, because they enjoy it, they have passion for it, they make it their main activity. A good number of people, the work they do is their career or job. You realize that in agriculture, there are so many careers and jobs. So here, I've turned down many of you who are writing, we call it, there is what we call the inverted ABC style. And I've decided to overturn the inversion. And I've put the main point at the bottom. The main idea is at the bottom. But the story there is trying to define the main point. So the main point is that there are many careers and jobs in agriculture, and I've put it at the bottom. So these are different styles that are engaged in writing. You can start with the main point, you can put it in the middle, or you can put it at the bottom. And we call it the inverted ABC style of writing. So as we do digital content, we should be conversant with these styles of writing. But in each paragraph, there is one main idea. That is the point here. I want to take you to another subject, and Diana should be very, very attentive here. And Javira. Next is there. So the topic is flowers, and how I started is that way. The photograph shows wildflowers growing. What colors are these flowers? So I'm now driving the user to look at the flower automatically. It is not there, put there just for fun. It must drive, I'm driving the user. Look at this picture. I'm forcing the user. So many flowers are brightly colored like this. So these flowers are brightly colored. Why are flowers so colorful? Now I'm bringing a challenging question to the user. I'm not feeding him like when you go to new biology by cousins, new tropical biology by cousins, they describe some flowers are this color, some others are this color, criteria is this purple color, and so on. They are telling the learner. Here, I'm asking a question. Think about it. So flowers are brightly colored to attract insects and birds. I could have posed another question there.
The petals. Daddy? The petals are the ones that are colored.
I'm speaking. So flowers are brightly colored to attract insects and birds. They do this because the insects and the birds help plants to reproduce. So flowers are reproductive organs of the plant. So again, I've broken the concept of flowers into 2 paragraphs and very short paragraphs. But if you interrogate them further, they contain a lot of information. A lot of information, which if you looked at biology by McKean, the information which I've put in those 2 paragraphs is contained on about 6 pages. So, and in digital content, this is what we want. We want also the person to do something. Because also there is plenty of information around us. They tell us the cloud is holding a lot of information. So if I'm giving you this text only, I'm saying, do journaling. Do journaling. What was very interesting for you is one question you must be answering. What was very interesting? Then that is the first question of journaling. Then the second part of, as you read the text in an instructional material, the second question you should do, what more can I know about this? What more can I know about this? Then the third part of your journaling should be, what am I not sure about? What am I not sure about? So instead of you, the author, providing everything, we need to train the users and what the users should be thinking as they read, because they should be able to apply what they read. And to be able to apply, you must get something interesting from that. You must get it. Where is it? What is interesting in what I'm reading? What captures my attention? The second thing, which of these things can I need to know more? Do I need to know why flowers are so colorful? Why they are very brightly colored? What do I need to know? If here I've said they are reproductive organs of the plant, then do I need to know more about reproductive organs of the plant? I've just introduced it that way. In that way, the person will not be passive when he's reading, will be active, because they are challenging issues that are arising out of reading. We don't want passive readers, we want active readers. And that is the focus of writing instructional material currently. But if it is 1960, like Introduction to Biology, or Abbott by Physics by Abbott, or Geography by R.G. White, you can write a whole story that fill 10 pages. There they wanted the passive receivers. Here we want active readers. Are you active as you read? And active readers pose questions. So another time we shall be talking about journaling. Journaling as you read or interact with others. Ronald always tells me that I told him that whenever we are interacting, you write. So you have to write as you interact. And the questions you pose are mainly 3. What has captured my mind that it is my take home? Number 2, where am I still challenged? Number 3, where can I go and do more research? So those are the 3 things that you need to be asking yourself as you read. Next, we can move forward, and I want to see how this introduction meshes up with an activity. So the activity, I've introduced the topic. It is concrete, but now I take them to doing, investigating flower structures. So the first step I introduce, you are going to take a flower part and stick the various parts into a large sheet or manila. Look carefully at your flower. How many sepals does it have? Carefully remove each sepal and stick them in a neat row. So by saying a neat row, the manila sheet does not have rows. So I'm telling you, do something even. Create rows on your manila sheet. But I'm not saying there is an instruction, create rows. No. From the statement, if you are reading with engagement, you will say, they're asking me to stick them in rows. Where are my rows now on my sheet of paper? I have to create them. Write a label to remind you what they are. So you look at the sepals, what is the size? The size of the row will be determined by the type of flower you have. So you don't just draw rows anyhow. And when I get this, I will be seeing which learner was really thinking as he's doing this activity. So how many petals does your flower have? What color are they? So I don't come with a prescribed color. All flowers are red. No. You have your flower there. Take it apart and stick the parts as you follow these instructions. Carefully remove each of the petals and stick them. So we have created the rows. Now we stick the petals. Now look at the stamens. These are the middle parts of the flower. Now the question is, do I know the middle parts of the flower? If you don't know, then you have to ask, how do I know about what are the middle parts? And if I'm using internet, I can now go to Google, a search engine of my choice, and find out what is the middle part. How does it look like? So is it, which part here with my flower looks like the one I've seen in Google? So it becomes, that is how engaging the text should be. How many stamens does your flower have? Can you see any pollen at the top of them? Remove them carefully and stick them. So that is the activity. Is it working with what I said at first, that flowers are reproductive organs of the plant? So I'm trying to drive that point using this activity. We can move on. This is the part which designers do not do. You have to do a pre-test of the activities you have done and see results. So as you write, you take what you've written to the users, a sample group of users. And this is what I got when I presented that flower activity to some users. It has 5 sepals, they put them in a row and they put a label of sepals. It has 5 petals, red in color. Yes, it has the guidelines. That one, I don't know where they got it from, but they put it there. And then it has 10 stamens, no pollen seen. So they put there the stamens, anthers, and filaments. It has 1 female part, because the last part which I did not put was the female part. where the stigma is style and ovary. I did not put that question in our slide. But this is how you pre-test. And that is why a good textbook takes 699 days to write. But we do it in hurriedly here. It takes 699 because each activity you put in the text should be pre-tested. And you get the results. Is it speaking to the concept? The big concept is the flower as a reproductive organ. Are we speaking to that? If we don't, then we are still not yet engaging the reader. We can move on. The next slide. And I can do as many, but that is how knowledge is constructed by the learners. Knowledge is constructed by the learners. And when I speak about knowledge being constructed by the learners, now I'm talking about constructivism and I'm talking about colloq, experiential learning. So I've been taking you through colloq. You had a concrete experience. How do you start to write? That is a concrete experience. The concrete experience, having the experience, the feeling of writing. Then reflective observation. You are watching, and as you watch, you are reflecting on the materials you write. The things you do. How do they relate to what I'm presenting? Then forming the concept. You start thinking how to generate your own knowledge from this experience. Then you will be doing it. If we had time, if it was training authors or writers, then I could engage you in your subject of geography. Let us choose a topic of weather. For instance, I had very many people from geography. I could ask them, let us choose weather. What is the driving question first that will enable the learner age 13 to 16 to know this concept, like the one person in Russia, the one person in the US, one person in China, one person in New Zealand or Australia. Because that is the big concept taught across the globe. The big idea is weather. How can I simplify it for somebody in Bundibujo, in Napak? Which concrete experience should we put in front of this person to start feeling weather, experiencing weather as he interacts with my material? I could have engaged you in that. Then watching. That's why with the digital tool, I could have a film of either rain, a video show of rain, and people are running. And then then I ask, what are you seeing? And then the person will see, it is raining and the people are running to houses, or they are having an umbrella, and so on, the visual impression. Then what are other things that reflect weather to us? They start thinking, and then I can engage them to record the weather elements in their community. So they will talk about the sunshine, the seasons, and so on, and we move on. The temperature of that day, they will be doing. And I've brought out the concept of weather. And there we are constructing knowledge. And it is constructed by the reader. they are not passive recipients that they have a blank slate, as Rousseau put it, that everybody has a blank slate. No, this is not true. We are born with some knowledge, some schema in our head. And it is that schema that we use to hook on new knowledge. So, and that is the principle in constructivism. We move to the next slide. Kolb, next. Experiential learning model is, as I've said, is a 4-stage process. The first process is providing a framework or a frame of reference for discussing, for engaging in creating knowledge. The second part of Kolb is observation and reflection. Here, you combine your experience with your thoughts. Because you have a personal experience of, for instance, weather, which I've been discussing, you have a personal experience of weather. But you have to add on thinking. How does it relate to what I'm seeing? How different is it from what I'm seeing in the picture of the concrete experience? And that question has not been in our society. Many people just see things, they don't relate to what they know, or they don't see how similar or how different it is. They don't ask that question. And with Kolb, that is a key question. How is it similar? How is it different? And what do I make of it myself? The second part, or the next third process, takes us, what meaning can you make out of this interaction? What meaning can you give to what we are doing? How do you put different pieces to create new meaning for yourself that you can be able to take as for yourself? What can I go with from the interaction with new ideas, new concepts? What do I take that becomes part of me? You have analyzed, and some people call it synthesized and put together your new meaning, your own meaning, your own definition. Finally, how can I use it? That is active experimentation. I've learned, like the physics people, they have done a lot about friction. For instance, Javira, you have taught a lot about friction. And the children saw the concrete experience. They watched how friction is done. I have logs that I'm pushing, and they are moving over a surface. And also, now I have people who carry water from a steep slope. How do I help them to climb the slope with a jerry can or a pot, such that the pot does not break or fall off as they slip? I have to create shoes that oppose the frictional force. So active implementation or experimentation. Now the design of the sole of the shoes will be an experimentation. I can make one where the grooves from the tire, if I use the old tire of a car, the grooves are already worn out. So it will slip like my leg, my foot. That one will not work. So I have to try another one to improve the grip on a slippery surface. So that is active experimentation. You try out as many things. Again, this one, we are not doing in the current teaching. You only come with one size fit all. Everybody, this is friction and that is all. The children do not experiment, do not try out what they are doing. And that's when I was talking about worship. I said, how will it be in 2030? That is active experimentation. We have seen how people are worshiping. So to be able to see how it will work in 2030, they might see the pattern. How do people who were used to go to church are not going today? Who used to go to the mosque are not going? What are the reasons? Is this trend likely to continue? And what is the prediction? Which kind of people are not going? Is it the old people? Is it those between 30 and 40? Is it between 20 and 30? Is it between 13 and 18? They have to carry out a survey and ask them, by 2030, will you be going to church? From what you know, will you be going to the mosque? So they experiment and they come out, oh, how will it be really? It will be only the old people going. Because you will find that those who are 40 to 50, many of them will be going to church. They will tell you that in a survey. It will come out very clearly. But those between 13 and 20, some will say, what we see with the leaders of the church and the leaders of the mosque, we shall not go. They will give you the reason why they will not go. So it comes out, that's an active experimentation. For the careers in agriculture, introduction to agriculture, I was only talking about the occupations, but if I had to increase the rigor in the question, I could ask, which of these careers would you choose and why? So which occupation would you choose and why? So I'm experimenting. They may choose it now, like when I was in the P4, I wanted to be a judge because I had gone into a court and seen how judges sit and make judgment of people who are going to be, who have cases. But by P7, I had become already a scientist. But I was experimenting how judges, was my thought. By P7, I had changed my mind to science as I interacted more with the science. So those are issues that we need active experimentation, giving people an opportunity to try out things. Next, we can go to the next slide. Ronald, next slide. So as we write and we do colloq, we must know the learning styles. That is key. What is our audience? What is the target group? So for the new lower secondary curriculum, I think there are 7 learning styles for the new lower secondary curriculum. So as you write your instructions, look at the visual learner. Somebody interested in looking at pictures, and that's what I started with. And we know pictures speak louder than words. So most of us, when we see a picture, it speaks volumes to us. Not the musical learner. I was not able to put psalms in the worship. I could have put a song and you could see how the psalms in the Bible are used to make people worship. Then the verbal learner, I'm talking about it as I was asking you during the dialogue. There are learners who are interested in dialogue. You need to ask them questions. And as you ask them questions, they understand more. But it is a dialogue. So they prefer using words, both in speech, sometimes in writing. Then the physical learner, those to move out and work by hands. They are those learners. Then we have the logical learners. They like reasoning. And that is where in the worship, I asked, how would worship be like in 2030? They are reasoning from the experience they have got. What does it mean? Why is it like that? For them, they are reasoning. They want to reason. Then the social learners, those who want to work in, as they play, they can do a game, they can do a role play. So, and then the solitary learner, those are the ones we give the text to read, like the one of a flower. You have put that text. For them, they want to read and read alone. They are solitary. They are cognitive learners. This is the group most of the materials I see on the market are serving. They serve only the solitary learners. People who want to read but do nothing, but only read, like reading a novel. Those are solitary learners. And most of the materials written are serving that category. All the other 6, we are not serving them. And the Kolob helps us to serve all the other 6. So in your instructional material, as you work through the pages, see that, or the concept, the whole concept should have these 7 learning styles. So if I'm talking about worship, each of these learning style must have a space in the text. If it is not there, then some learners will be left behind. Yet we want to have, we need to follow the principle. No learner should be left behind. That is the principle. No learner should be left behind. Next, Ronald, we can move to the next slide. So if effective instructional materials or textbooks start with the learning outcome. What is the learning outcome? And that is key. If you don't have a learning outcome, or some people call it a learning objective in the old books, should be, what is the objective? The books we are using in our secondary school right now, before the coming of the reviewed lower secondary curriculum, they were not following the syllabus. So the learners were, I can say they were using them as reference books, but they were not textbooks to the curriculum they were studying. They are not, because they were written for a different curriculum. And because the big concepts are the same across the globe, somebody just picks any book and starts using it to teach. Because the concept taught in Uganda, it is the concept taught in America, in Asia, or in Europe. It is the concept. But the way the content is built around the concept should be speaking to the learner of your country or of your place. That the content in most of the books that we are using does not speak to the learners of Uganda. And that is why when you ask many graduates, they want to go to Europe, because the books are telling them to go to Europe. They want now to go to Middle East, because Europe has rejected us, so we have to go to the Middle East. Most of the people who are graduating from school, when you ask them, they are yearning, I want to go to Europe, because the books they are going through from primary up to university are telling them Europe is the best place to be in, because their objectives of those books are European objectives. They meet the needs of Europe, and we are using them to teach our people, and that is the challenge. So the learning outcome should be broken into small chunks. Like, for me, I wanted to do the historical background of agriculture. So I tried to bring out the history that people of long ago, they did hunt and do this, got fish, they could move from place to place. In terms of animal herding, nomadic way of life, food gathering, and hunting. That was my learning outcome that I was addressing. And I talked about hunting, I talked about moving from place to place, and I talked about gathering food. That is the learning outcome. The text should speak to the learning outcome or the objective. So it is important, and it should be broken in smaller chunks. When I'm talking about the history, the past, it was clear. I talked about, in the next one was about the careers, the occupations. And the occupations includes nomadic herding or herding animals, dairy animals. So you use visual and subject matter. So there is what we call the subject matter for the solitary learner who needs to read the text, and the visual. I could also include the audio, the activity, and so on. Use a few words, short sentences, short paragraphs, because the attention span of people follows Piaget. At the age of 13 to 17, the number of words in a sentence should be between 9 and 12 maximum number of words in a sentence. And the number of sentences in a paragraph should be 7. And that text gives you about 63 words in a paragraph. If that is the maximum, 63. Because that one would tally well with the notion that a child of 13 to 16 acquires how many words per day? They are supposed to be new words. 25 new words per day. And if he's engaged properly, in a week, the person knows only 75 words, new words. And these can be repeated many times in the year. So in a year, we get about 25 new words that we use in another language, which is not ours. And we are conversant with them. Next, I would like to say that we need to be accurate. Dungu, show the slides. We need to be accurate. And the accuracy, like you saw, I had some problem where I wanted to write wild. I just wrote will. I wanted to write they work. I wrote they. So accuracy. And to be accurate, you need a subject matter expert. A subject matter expert are those people who are highly cognitive in that concept. They are highly cognitive. They are not practical. They know a lot of theory about the concept. The writers can be a practitioner, like the teachers. I'm happy there are so many teachers who are writing. The one who is in the classroom should write. But to make sure that the writing is accurate, you need a subject matter expert. And that one we are not yet doing. People, the teachers write and then they present to a development manager of a publishing house who is not a subject expert, and then the books come on the market. And that is a challenge for us. Like now, as we write digital content, we need subject matter experts to help us. So it is not a one person's work, it is a group of people. Like I see Asaya here writing, and he writes, oh, written by Asaya alone. That is not a textbook. It's not a good instructional material when you write it alone. Asaya, don't feel offended, but that is what it is. Next, you need to use the word you. We can go ahead and look at the slide again. we call it the second person point of view. It is important. Ronald, I don't see the slides. In the text that I gave from the beginning there, I was emphasizing the use of you and they. That is in English language, very, very important. The use of you, yours, and you are. They, because also you need to be careful about the pronouns. The pronouns you use in any text or instructional materials. We need neutral pronouns. Instead of saying he or she, we usually use they. Then the text should be telling an engaging story and speaking directly to your audience. This is what I tried to do in the text on worship, in the text on flowers, in the text on agriculture, to tell an engaging story. And an engaging story should have a reflection question which drives the person to think. Speaking directly to your audience, the audience takes about the textbook user and his environment or her environment. We need to look at that. The audience is not only the person reading, but also the surroundings he experiences daily. So when our books are not speaking to our environment, and we say, oh, they are fit for senior 4, is it speaking to the environment the senior 4s are in or experience every day? So speaking directly to your audience includes where they live and how they experience the day-to-day life. We got the next slide. And I want to emphasize that we need to put plenty of time and effort in developing better instructional material. As I've said earlier on, you need 699 days to develop a complete book for a year of instruction. Senior 1 alone, you need 699. To go through even the pre-testing, you can try out each activity on the concept with the users. You see if it really brings out what the concept has desired. But we are still in the learning process. As we move on, we should learn and move and on. Next slide and final slide. Next slide. Before I thank you finally for being in my class and in this session, writing digital content should have this at the back of their minds. That in Uganda, from the Teachers Symposium we held last year, was it last year? Yes, I hope last year. In March, around in March, was it March 2020? I remember there was something, 2021, this year, I think it is this year, when we were open, the symposium informed us that this is how people are accessing the digital tools. And when I read about the use of digital tools in schools, how different countries in Africa are coping with the use of digital tools, the phone for WhatsApp, for Facebook, for Twitter, and so on, is becoming handy to use. The laptop is there. The desktop, some people are calling them outdated. The tablet is something new on the market. Then Wi-Fi is not very, like when you are near a university, Wi-Fi can be for free. At one time, Kampala had a Wi-Fi. but I don't know how much we were using it. And it reminded me when you were moving with the Dungu, we were in a place where when you enter a town, Wi-Fi just comes on your phone automatically. You use it and download even very big things without any problem. So Wi-Fi is another tool that where is the internet bundle. Dungu in the beginning here also talked about giving the participants some contribution to internet bundle. Then use of a modem where you work with the service providers and you upload your data or your usage of internet on a modem. When you have a modem, you can access internet on a computer, desktop, laptop, or a tablet, all those facilities. This is the landscape in which we are working. So we should know the size of population that we are going to reach. The good thing is that which we can pick from the lockdown and the pandemic is that it has increased awareness that we need technologies to continue learning. Thank you so much for the session. Over to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Matthias, for walking us through elaborately the desires for this session. And I know there are burning questions, additions, and this is the time. You raise your hand. You raise your hand and speak to us. Matthias will be taking down some notes. Maybe after 5 questions, then we give it to him. Or you write in the chat if you feel you cannot speak to us. So time now is for your reflection and the questions. Robert Viamukama, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dungu. I want to say that the discussion is going on very well. And I want to appreciate your efforts, Mr. Murumba. You have taken us through very many things. But my question goes to the knowledge, how the knowledge is constructed.
Continue.
Yes, on the knowledge, I was wondering, because when you look at the number of the classes that we have so far, the numbers are big in the schools. And it is always a challenge. It is always a challenge to us teachers. Majorly on the materials that we use or that on the materials that are needed. Another thing is about the learning styles. When you consider the classes that we have in schools, you will see that we have a big number, and sometimes it may be very difficult for you or for teachers to point out all these learning styles, for example, that you have listed. So that is my submission.
Thank you. Next hand. Robert, you can mute your...
Thank you, Robert. I just want to remind members that let's also put the questions in the framework of writing materials to be used in our classrooms. Next question. Next question. Put in the chat if you cannot. And please remember to register. There is a link for registration. Go there and register. Even if you registered on entry through Zoom, please do register again. Put your question in the chat if you can't speak out. Maybe Mr. Mulumba, for now, let's have an answer to Robert as people form their questions.
Okay. Thank you, Vyamukama, for joining us all the way from Busheng. We look at Kolob. Kolob observed that as we interact, like now we are interacting with you, we are constructing our own knowledge about writing and developing instructional material. Through this interaction, we have formed our own ideas because the principles are there. We have formed ideas about what is the concrete experience in writing instructional material. If I'm writing for a Zoom class like this one, I say, for me, I looked at how can I make it, what would be concrete? And I said, oh, it should be a picture of the church, people in the church, and then let me get somebody to try to draw, and I take a photo and also I post it such that if somebody did not understand what the church is, I have somebody kneeling, because I wanted to bring out how do you construct knowledge. From this picture, somebody said, somebody is kneeling, is praying, another one is drawing. So there we are constructing knowledge. Somebody who saw drawing was right, because that is how, which knowledge was made as he interacted with the picture. Who said he was kneeling? That is how that person understood the picture. Then somebody who said he was praying, because if I ask the reason, why are you saying it? People could give me the reason. Either because he's kneeling and putting the hands together, that means he's praying, or is somebody would say he's asking for excuse or to be pardoned, something like that. So construction of knowledge is not about, is for you as a writer, for the net or for the technology, the Zoom technology, for instance, or the tablet, or if you want to post on WhatsApp, to see how the reader will create knowledge out of what you are writing. And what you are writing must have a big idea. So how do you create knowledge around the big idea? Because of your experience of reading a book, and you say, hey, I've read a lot about the topic of transpiration. Let me use biology, for instance, transpiration. 2 pages on transpiration. Or tourism. I've read a lot about tourism. Then, I've acquired the knowledge. No, that's not true. If you were asked after 3 years about what you read, very little will be still with you. So you did not construct your own knowledge. If you constructed that, do we receive people from other places coming here? Yes. What are they coming to see? You know it. Then, isn't it in their place? Then you could discover, oh, they are coming to see the hot springs in Chitagata because hot springs only exist here. They don't exist in Guru. There are no hot springs in Guru. So you are creating knowledge now. For you, you just saw people going to the hot springs, but you didn't know that in Gulu they are not there. By now, posing question is why these people have come to Chitagata Hot Springs, and in understanding that hot springs in Uganda are existing in Chitagata, they are not in Gulu, they are not in Jinja Town, then you know why the hot springs are a tourism attraction. Then the tourism will make more meaning to you. That people go to places they have never been to see things which do not exist in their places, to experience things which are not existing in their places. Then tourism becomes your own constructed knowledge. But if you read the textbook, I don't think it has that explanation of geography by yourself. Or it just tells you, we have tourism attractions, Lake Bunyonyi is there, we have River Nile, on Follows Dam is a tourism attraction, we have Kasubi Tombs is a tourism attraction. So the number of learners vis-a-vis materials, vis-a-vis the learning style. Like I was saying, when you are writing content, what I missed here was to put the musical instrument, to ask you to do a role play and so on. But if the topic is tourism, I can first have pictures of Chitagata Hot Springs and people bathing in the Minos water springs there. I can have that picture for the visual learner is looking at the picture. Then I can have some text. Then I can have an interview where I'm asking the learners to go and find out why people come to visit certain places. And we are lucky in Uganda, we have different locations where people go as tourists. Or when you are living normally in your community, at any one time you will see somebody who has come and is a tourist. So can we have an interview, an engagement? So which you create an activity where you are still on that concept. You can do a role play. You can do, they come and you ask the children to come and role play in the class. The concept being developed by the learners, such that the text is not only for reading content without activities. I don't see, if I looked for Introduction to Biology, for instance, by McKean, from the one which I was reading was from page 32. When I read it up to page 35, from 32, there is something about pollination, fertilization, and in flowering plants. There is pollination there, something about pollination. You don't see an activity there. How many pages? From 32, 33, 34, up to 35. You don't see any activity in Introduction to Biology. So if you use that book to teach people, or if I posted that on the platform here, I posted a page 32 that we read. After reading that, I post page 33. There are some pictures. Then I've talked about another one. Then there are flower pictures there in page 34, but there is a lot of content. It is only page 35 which has only pictures, and the pictures are already labeled, so the learner is doing nothing. He's only reading and seeing the pictures. So that book is not following column. There is no attention to the different types of learners. But if I wrote, and I started with a song about flowers, I don't want to play it. I had a song on flowers with me. I was not able to upload it. But if I was able to upload it, you could hear music about the flower. And if I just, in 3 minutes, I've presented that music out of my 80 minutes. 3 minutes, that is the introduction. So the children, I will ask them, what did you hear? They will tell me. Eventually, if I have a big screen in the classroom and I've projected the song is being played, it takes about 3 minutes, and then it is over. Then we go into dialogue with the learners. Like now I was with dialogue with you. Name 10 occupation is in your community. That was a dialogue. I wanted to get answers from you. And then you give me, I ask you to write in the chat room. You write, the answers become visible here in the chat room for everybody to see. So if it is a big class, like in China, 200 learners are taught like they were taught. And each one is on a tablet and is posting on the chat room, is raising his hand up. And if I want them to go into an activity and I want them to discuss about the different occupations they have listed, I can break out the learners in groups as they were entering the chat room or they were entering the session, group them. For you 10, your group leader is this one. Discuss the requirements of that career of a bricklayer. And the children will then discuss about the pilot. Another group will discuss about the banana farmer. What are the requirements to be a good banana farmer? So they go in their own session, in a breakaway, the technology will allow you to do that. And then you bring them back. One of the people is allowed to put up the hand in the main chat room. And as he puts up the hand, he's selected by the host. And then he presents. Then the rest of the people will know about the banana farmer. Then the second person, the pilot, will bring the requirements for the pilot. And if they use the 7 minutes in their breakaway sessions, when they come back here, we share in 10 minutes, or everybody is given about 3 minutes to present. And then the whole 200 people will have learned. So as for now, that's why my last slide was talking about the population in Uganda and how it is accessing the technologies. For now, we have about 30 or more participants. We can do it also in groups. We break in six groups. They go in a separate room and do the activities. As we develop and more people access this technology, like it is in Shanghai, in China, we shall be able to have everybody working with the technologies. And the learning style can be addressed accordingly as we become experts in developing instructional material for digital use. Yes, over to Ronald.
Hello.
Kalema.
Yes, I think Ronald will be back shortly. So I'm going to handle this part a bit.
Yes.
I thank you, Wana Murumba, for explaining how knowledge is constructed through activities. The ball is back to the participants to reflect on what they have learned and to ask questions that they have. When they have no questions, it is either that you have been very clear or you have not been understood at all. So,
okay.
So
there is one question here on the platform that I've seen.
Yes.
I've seen one question on the platform. How do we strike a balance?
I asked that question, but because it is me, I could wait a bit so that we take the others first.
Okay.
I'm the one who wrote it, so that one can wait. Then we start with the other people. Jose Kijambu was first, to be followed by Madame Nachibuye Doreen. Jose.
Okay, thank you, Ayubu and Matthias, for the presentation. My question goes to Matthias. How best can you create knowledge, especially for concepts that need calculations, like in math? Could you please help us with that? Thank you.
Okay.
Question one. Let's take a second one. Let's take Sam so that
Doreen.
Doreen.
This opportunity.
Doreen could be louder.
When I'm creating some content, I want to add in questions. So I'm supposed to write it, or write the answer within the content, or I put the question there for the then I put the answers maybe in the summary, or I can put the answer right away after saying.
We didn't hear you very well, but I'm going to rephrase and see if I heard you well.
No. One.
Okay. This is what I heard you say, that are we supposed to provide the answers in the content? That's what I heard, but I'm not sure whether that is what you asked. Mr. Murumba, did you pick it?
Yeah, I picked that.
Okay.
How do we provide answers? The question is in the text.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a third question? Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a third question? Okay, Mr. Murumba, we could, the other one that I also asked, how do we strike a balance between providing the answers as a platform and also creating activities that enable the learners to think deeply about what they are learning to create their own knowledge. Over to you, Sebo.
Okay, thank you, the participants. I will start with the number one, and I want to give Kijambu, the topic is fractions, and it requires calculations, it requires numbers. If I want to teach it, at home here, I buy pawpaws, I buy oranges, and a pawpaw, or I buy jackfruits. I'm taking those examples. A jackfruit, for instance, it is one whole jackfruit, but we are 7 in the home. How do we enjoy that fruit, all of us? So I can start by saying fruits are good for our health. It's very good. There are many fruits that we eat when they are fresh and ripe. Name 3 fruits that are eaten when they are ripe. I'm trying to build fractions as my concept, because the concept should come in the first 3 minutes. Whatever you add is for the learner to add. So the learners will now tell me purple is eaten as a fresh fruit, jackfruit will come, and many others, apples. Then I will ask, if we have one jackfruit, one apple, or one purple, ripe purple, and each one of us needs to get an equal share. Equal share. How could we do it? And then, if it is a digital, I will have the purple picture there, or the jackfruit there. I will then ask, this is the ripe jackfruit. And you have 70 people, each one has to get an equal share. Then the person will describe what will happen if it is digital. I would ask you to describe. So in the chat room, I will get the description. You cut it into 7 equal parts. Definitely, I'm in fractions. One whole jackfruit has been divided into 7 different pieces. So if I go further, how do you arrive to these 7 equal pieces? The description will bring in now, how do you get one whole thing and make sure that there are 7 equal parts of it? And I'm in fractions. I've not yet brought. So if I named the people, the 70 people, and I said Chijambu and Murumba and Ayub were members of these 7 people who had shared the fruit, what is the total that they ate? So I'm adding 1/7 of Murumba, 1/7 of Chijambu, 1/7 of Ayub. And already I'm adding fractions. So in that way, I've not put the figures for you you start with. Many of you just start. A half plus a third equals what? When did the children know that a half, and when did they know that a third? You have not started from concrete experience. Another topic, matrices. I can ask the learners that we pack many materials in containers to transport them from one place to another. Farmers can pack eggs, they can pack apples, and the soft drink companies can pack soda, soft drinks in crates. Tell me how many bottles are in a crate of soda or in a box of mineral water. And the children will tell me, it is from their daily experience. How many eggs are in a crate, rather a tray of a tray? The children will tell me, count how many are in one row and how many are in all of the rows. I'm already speaking about matrices, and it's from their daily experience. But for you, you start with the brackets, you put there 2, 3, 4, 1, close the bracket, that is a matrix. Then you have not done concrete experience. So that is how you need to, you are experienced. The learner or the reader is not experienced about the topic. So for you, you need to translate and interpret the topic in the realities of life. If it is physics, people talk about the liver, the 3 classes of liver. But every day we are opening the door, we are holding the handle, and people are not speaking about that. Every day we are pushing things on a wheelbarrow. They are not talking about that in the liver, in physics. We are carrying loads on our head, and how you lift the thing to your head and before you carry it. People are not talking about that. And you say machine is helping people to do work easily. But the machines people are using, you are not talking about them. Now, talk about conduction of heat. You may say, it is very hard to introduce the formula. But if I had a saucepan or a pan for boiling water, and I had two or many pans, one which carries a liter, another one carries 2 liters, another one carries 3 liters of water. We can ask the learners to put the pans on a weighing scale, and when they weigh, they record the mass. After that, they record when the pan is filled with water. We get the difference to know how much weight the water is. And then we go on. Then we introduce only the specific capacity because we don't have the time to develop and reach that level of 4,200 kilojoules per Kelvin. We are not yet there. So don't say mathematics, we cannot do things properly. Projectiles. Every day people are playing basketball in your place or volleyball. If I asked children that we go to the field and then we shoot, or we push the ball in the net of the basket. When we are standing, we know the height of the goalpost. We know the net, where the net is, where we are going to push the ball. Then we see how it goes into the net, and so on. If we go to the field, they will start shooting. And if we took the pictures and created the screens for them, the children could measure the angle, and the best angle would be 26 degrees for shooting the ball in the hole. And the projectiles, I'm there. I'm teaching projectiles and where they are used in daily life. It is practical. So if it is about we are using the phone and we are paying the service providers at different rates. If you make a call on some service provider, they are taking our 230 cents to 230 shillings. Others are taking 180 shillings. So you can ask, which call should you make? Then others, when they give you a bundle, they are taking 40 shillings per unit. Should you buy a bundle or should you make calls and using the money directly? The children, the calculations would come and they will become rates, will become very, very clear to the learners. On where do you put the answers? In content development, we have where answers are given as a product, and we have answers that are only to engage you in thinking. So to develop critical thinking skills, the answers come to you, who is going to reflect on them. They don't need to be written anywhere. The only writing you need to make is journaling. We call it journaling. And journaling has not come out properly. We need a special time for it. In journaling, this is what you write. 1, Some people say, what I knew before coming to the session, I write it. Then, what is new in the session, you write it. What I don't understand, and where can I make research? So that one is journaling. That's what you need to write when you are reading a text. What I know before coming, but now it is being talked about here. What is new? You write it down in a separate book or sheet or canvas, your own canvas. If it is a tablet or a computer, you have a special canvas where you write down your notes. We call it journaling. That is the right word. For now, I don't want to use the word notes because it makes us sick. Some of us, when we hear the word notes, we fall sick because you are recycling ignorance of others. But journaling means you are posing critical thinking questions. You are making informed decisions. Journaling is about making informed decisions by asking the right question. What do I need to know about this? Is a key question. Why is it important to me? How can I use it after this session? Those are critical thinking questions. And you only write those answers to those questions. How can I use it? Like now, how can I use your questions in the next session? I have to emphasize journaling, that even here, when we are in this session, the digital session, we should have the people who are experts should teach us to have two canvases. One canvas where you write these questions that I'm posing. Why is this important for me? What is new to me here that I've learned? Which one should I research on? You go and write, you have a canvas where you have a table of 4 things that you need to be feeding in the table. That table of 4 quadrants, you feed in information. So for the product, those are the responses to an activity posed, like the one for flower. That is already an activity, and I want a product at the end of it. That one, like I suggested in the flower, there is a large sheet of paper or a manila sheet, and that is the product. Then coming to striking a balance. In the traditional approach, Ayub has the content to give to the learners. So he must provide the content. And we call that one content mastery approach. But the content has the concept. So I collected the content about this concept, whether I must provide it, spoon feed it to the learners, and it is the source of truth. That one is content mastery approach. The digital concept approach, because also we have the digital content mastery approach, because those are 2 things which we need to differentiate. The content and the concept. Those are 2 things that should be clear to us. In the concept approach, you provide a kickstart, something to kickstart people to start developing their own knowledge. The knowledge will become their content they have developed. In the content mastery approach, you know the truth and you are the source of the truth, and everybody should follow the source of the truth. So we need to differentiate that too. So if you want to develop digital content mastery approach, then Ayub provides the content around a given concept of weather. If it is concept mastery approach, here you only provide driving questions and an advanced organizer, a sentence or three that triggers off thinking and developing your own content. So the two are not the same, and that's why the new book on flowers has only 2 pages. Introduction to Biology has 8 pages on flowers. So that is the dilemma, because the new books are on concept. The old book are on content. And the pedagogy is also different. In the old style, we have pedagogy of operation, the Rousseau's approach. Rousseau said, you are a blank sheet. You learners, you don't know anything about weather. So I come with all the knowledge and give it to you on weather. That is pedagogy of operation. I'm the one to decide what is right. But the pedagogy of integration is that I know you know something, but maybe it is not arranged the way I want. So let me give you questions that elicit your knowledge that you have already acquired. Because we are at different zones of proximal development. Ayub knows a lot about the computer. If I said about the computer, Mulumba doesn't know. So for Ayub to know where I stand, he must pose questions to me. Otherwise, he will come to teach me how to open the computer because he's using content approach. So he teaches me, this is how they open the computer. But Mulumba already knows how to open the computer. So you need to pose a question. A question will tell me the gap you have. And then I pose another question, which will eliminate whether I need to teach you about how to label, how to bold, and how to do that. I will just pose a question. And if you don't bold, then I scaffold you. I support you to reach bolding, which you don't know. But I will not say, I have to teach you from opening the Word document. Then after opening the Word document, get the cursor, go to the font size. Get the cursor, do this, do that. We are at different zones of proximal development. Like the children who are living with their youth are not the same as the children in a park or in the Vyamukama's village in Bushen. Because those children, when they come to the computer, another one even doesn't know how to switch it off. So that one needs to be assisted from switching the computer on. Then the one with Kalema Ayub knows how to switch on the computer, go to the Word document. That one is at a different level. So I can only ask both children, how do we write a letter or write your name using a computer? Automatically, they give me their views in a dialogue. Then I know, and I can direct the learning. If we are doing ideal constructivism, we could do it like it is in Japan. A class is divided into 8 rooms, and the children are separated into 8 groups according to the first driving question. So the driving question helps you to divide the learners, and some people call it differentiated learning. So you separate the learners according to the zone of proximal development they are on the concept. And in each room they will go to, they will find somebody to support them according to the level they are. So that level we have not reached, but here using the digital approach, we can create such rooms. So we first pose the driving question and we ask everybody to provide an answer in the chat room. And as the answers are looked at, then the names of those people with similar answers are put in one room or one chat room, and they go there in a separate room and they find somebody to support them from there. The ones who are at a different level, they are put in another chat room, and then the discussion continues. So we strike the balance is that we need to decide which digital content do we want to develop. Is it digital content for content mastery or digital content for concept mastery? That is your choice, you decide. In concept mastery, driving questions. In content mastery, you are the source of the truth. So you must provide all the knowledge. And that decision, the teachers have to decide that I'm the source of the truth, everything correct is from me. Then you do content mastery. And that is what the lecturers in the universities are doing. And they are not helping us to develop the people we want for the economy. What the teachers in secondary schools are doing, what the teachers in the primary schools are doing, they are on content mastery. That they are the source of the truth. There is only one right answer. It is one size fit for all. And that's why the assessment as well has a marking guide, which is, they say we have to standardize the marking guide. In the concept mastery, we don't have a standardized marking guide. We have only criteria. And it is the criteria to decide whether your answer fits the criteria. If the answer fits the criteria, then you are scored. But we don't have fixed answers. And that fits in well with the VUCA world. It started way back in 1978. We are only understanding it in 2020 in Uganda. That is the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Murumba.
You are welcome.
Okay. There are quite a number of reflections coming in from different people. I'm going to read through them and then give Mr. Chijambo an opportunity to reflect or to ask a question. In the chat room, I am reading as follows from reflections and questions. I have seen David Matovu is saying, Mr. Murumba, I'm just realizing that we need to dig more deeply in understanding and application of concepts we teach in daily experiences or life, for sure. So, Mr. Murumba, that is a reflection from Mr. Matovu. He's realizing the need to understand and dig deeper in understanding and application. Mr. Mbasani, I'm learning that we need to be creative and use local and available resources as much as possible. And that I think applies to both teaching as well as the development of materials. Ladies and gentlemen, the Holistic E-Learning Project for Uganda schools develops content and organizes learning. So we would like to be a center for learning. And we are still in that zone when we need to determine, like Mr. Murumba has said, do we master content? Do we master concepts? A reflection from Mr. Mike Mbayo, I have learned that the content we develop should stimulate what? Should stimulate active participation in the learner. That's a good reflection. Mr. Dungu, can we write our personal experiences about this session here? So Mr. Dungu is prompting you to write your experiences Mr. Mike Mbayo, the facilitator, is clear and elaborate. The content should encourage critical thinking. Thank you so much, Mr. Murumba. Surely a lot of content being taught with no relationship to the real life application, but your presentation surely guides a content developer and teacher to deliver. That's a reflection from Mr. Chigozi. Ladies and gentlemen, those are comments you wrote. I believe that you have a lot more and could be from yourself. So, Mr. Chijambu, you
Yes.
comment.
Before Chijambu comes in, hello.
Hello.
Before Chijambu comes in, there are other comments that have come on play. And I see journalism, Biamukama, that is the spelling, but journaling, then instead of SM at the end, you put there NG, journaling. Then we need to use daily life experiences to introduce any topic, Javira. So that is clear that which audience are you speaking to in your writing? Is that audience the one which is the learner or the user is experiencing in his day-to-day life? That was the point that I made. It is clear. Then, what are you learning? What does this mean to you? What question do you have? Those are the journaling issues that you have in your quadrant. You need you divide your page into 4 parts. Then you put those questions. What are you learning? Is one quadrant. Another quadrant, what does this mean to me as a user? Like now, we have interacted in this session. What does it mean to you? For me, what does it mean to me? I'm getting a lot of learning points. How to make better presentations, then how to introduce these concepts and so on. Then what question do I have? Because you may have questions like now the ones we are posing. In any session, you will go to, whether it is just walking on the street, you must have, what questions do I have for this observation I've seen? How does it impact me? It should be clear. Some people, we take an example. There is an accident on the road. Don't just say, those people have got an accident. Let me just move away. There is a question. What does it mean to you? Like now, the other Kenzo was moving on Maya Road and had an accident. So users of that road, now, if they reflected the question, what does this mean to me? When I reach this point, I must be careful because the road is not good. Here, that was the meaning. Why did Kenzo get an accident there? So, and what does it mean to me? And if I'm in somebody is driving me, what do I tell him before we reach that point? So all of those are issues. Then we need to relate to real life. That is true. Narubowa. Mbasani is saying also that concept development is new and is thanking help for bringing it now in this session. Also, we should have started long ago. Somebody is saying, so Robert Biamukama, concept mastery, the difference between the two. And then somebody is, Kakaire is admiring the use of examples that I'm giving. Because for me, I see every topic we teach in the syllabus from all topics, all subjects, they have examples in our day-to-day life. All topics, because the Europeans who started education the way we teach it formally, have passed through the same things. Like I can talk about the land tenure, which we have put in the topics. In Britain, land tenure was very, very important in 1098. The question is we are asking today about the land tenure. We asked in Britain in 1098. The king wanted to stop quarrels over land in Britain. And he had to ask everybody to declare his piece of land. And then quarrels came up. Quarrels came up. People started declaring their friends' pieces of land. And it caused a lot of trouble for his administration. Then he had to create a team where the Doomsday Book comes from, the Doomsday Book. If you go on the net and read about the Doomsday Book, you will find it telling a lot about land issues that they have been there for a long time. When you talk about lending and borrowing and managing loans, Shakespeare wrote it in The Merchant of Venice, and the book was written in 1400 by Shakespeare. But that is how our money lenders are behaving today. Wherever you find them, and that's how banks are behaving. In 1923, in the US, what we are experiencing with the landlords now in the town was experienced in 1929 when there was a big crisis, economic crisis around the world. The question is the traders, the business owners are asking government. We asked in 1929, 1930, when there was a big crisis. So it is that kind that it is us, the experts, to interpret the concept and find its meaning in our day-to-day life. How is it the river that I talked about? Somebody will say there is a first-class river. The example is this. Second-class river. The example is this. And the third-class river. The example is this. But in the reality of the learners, are the examples given in the books from Europe similar to what the learners are experiencing here in Uganda? That is now the question. Or can I go a step further and say, okay, they are talking about a thermoflask in Europe. The children in Chana Mukaka, in Masaka, are they using a thermoflask? What are they using to keep their food warm? I see some people, when I was young, we could just get the banana leaves, wrap there our food, then go and separate the hot ash in the kitchen where the three stones are. We push it aside, put our wrapped food there and cover it with the hot ash. And in the following morning, we could find it hot. That is the reality in the villages. And what keeps this food warm should be the question. It is about heat conduction. And what is the relationship between the conduction of heat in the banana leaves to the conduction of heat in the saucepan made in Shumuku, a company producing pans for us? What is the relationship? Is banana leaves a good conductor of heat? Those are the questions that we should be asking. And then we make it very much better. So, but if we bring the content that was developed about heat conduction, the heating systems in the house in Europe, to demonstrate heat transmission and transfer in Uganda, where we have no heating system in the house, then the two will not speak to each other, and the product you produce, the graduate, will only think about going to Europe such that he enjoys the heating system in Europe. So definitely, we need to look at the methodology of teaching. Is it for spoon feeding? And we know all the truth. And then, like one of the lecturers used to say, if you don't write what I taught you, then you are wrong. If that is the approach, it is fine for us. We have to find out where is it taking us. Is it helping us to live in the VUCA world? So that is the issue. Okay, Ayub, over to you.
So thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Chijambu. He wanted to make a quick one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ayub, for the opportunity. I thank Matthias as well for the presentation, and I think we need more of these moving forward. I understand, okay, you talked about, or you answered pretty well my questions, and I understand there are a number of topics that have real life applications, especially in math and physics, and those that are not in our line, especially or interest in Uganda, have been scrapped as per the new curriculum, the CBC. But in this line, I'm thinking about topics like, or concepts like multiplying bases or dividing bases, and converting recurring numbers into fractions, because they are as well included now in the CBC. So in that case, how do we introduce such concepts? Or do we need just to introduce the topic constructively at the start as bases, and then moving forward, we use the traditional way? I need your clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay, let's thank you,
Ayub,
Mr. Chijambu.
Ayub, may I also say that we shall have those specific questions also within the subject teams, because they might be easier handling there. But yes, Mr. Mulumba can give a view on that.
Do we have people who want to ask so that we do it at once and we end the session? We are nearing the very end. So if you have a question, this is the time. After this session, after Mr. Mulumba sharing, I think we'll not have another round of questions. So if you have a question, this is the moment. If it doesn't come now, it won't come. I'm pausing for a minute before Mr. Mulumba comes in for you to think about it. Okay, so it seems to me that we are good to go.
So Ayub.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Now, Chijambu, this is a learning journey, And as Ronald put it, you as a math expert, experienced math person, what is the use of recurring numbers in my day-to-day life? That is the biggest question. For you, when you understand the use of recurring numbers in your day-to-day life, it becomes much easier. Prime numbers, what is its use in my day-to-day life? Bases, what is its use in my day-to-day life? Indices, what is its use in my day-to-day life? I can go further to binomial expansion. Binomial expansion, what is this they use in life? If you know binomial expansion, you will discover that it is the one used to determine the interest rate when you go to borrow money. How does the money, when you save, how does the money multiply. That is the day-to-day life. So when you are borrowing money from somebody, he says, I've lent you 100,000. But when I was in PG, we had a money lender there who could say, if I lend you 100,000 today, the 7th of August, you will bring it on the 7th September when you are bringing 200,000. My 100 you took and interest over 100,000. And for you who have known binomial expansion, you will see that. Now the kilo of sugar, if we said in 1997, rather, yeah, 1987, what was the price of sugar at that time? Or what was the price of the dollar at that time? The price of the dollar at that time was about 1,400. What is its price today in 2021? It is about 36,000. Is it 3,600? At the other time, it is 1,400. Then how has the price of the dollar changed? That is the application of binomial expansion. How has it changed? You will discover you are talking about inflation. How has the inflation has occurred on the dollar and the Uganda shillings? It comes out clearly. And if you interpret it that way, people will go a long way in understanding binomial expansion. But if you just come with calculations, then you are in the content mastery approach. If you come with the fractions or the recurring numbers and you want the children to calculate them, you are in the content mastery. You know the truth and it should be known that way. No other way it should be known. The children will ask, I've learned this, where do I use it? How does it help me in my day-to-day life? And if we don't answer that question, then we are still in content mastery. We want people to know the things for us we knew them. The way the Europeans knew it 1,000 years ago. Is it really working for us today? That is now the issue. Does it work that way? It doesn't. You used to know that when you want to measure temperature, you must have a mercury thread, you must have a thermometer in a glass tubing, and so on. Is it really relevant today? Those are the issues. Is that how we should continue measuring temperature? Under COVID, a temperature gun came, and it is using quite electrons. And they are just translating and interpreting. In the mercury, they were electrons. And when these electrons gained heat, they expanded. They wanted more space. So that's how the volume in the capillary tube, that tube in the meniscus rose. And now we are saying, can we use a different thing to absorb the heat and record the temperature? That is the issue. So if recurring number have no use in life, don't teach them. In our day-to-day life, don't teach them because they are useless. You are loading somebody things he will never use in the rest of his life. And VUCA says you have a lot of opportunity to learn the things you want to use to meet the challenges that you face in day-to-day life. So we want to teach people things they can use. So we, the experts, we must sit down, analyze this topic, find its meaning in the day-to-day life, and start from the meaning in day-to-day life to teach. And then we shall be teaching from known to unknown, from familiar to unfamiliar. Thank you. So Ayub,
thank you, Mr.
Over
Mulumba.
to you.
Thank you. Would like to thank you very much for sharing with us your expertise. For the members who are here, we will receive communication as to when we meet again. Otherwise, as project implementation team, we are planning to have a meeting this afternoon for us to discuss deeper things to do with the project and how we move forward. I think you've seen that Mr. Mulumba has raised important issues that we must be talking about. Let us hand over to Mr. Dungu to communicate a few details and as we prepare for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayub. And thank you, Mr. Mulumba, for walking us through this long journey and starting us off. Friends, we are gathering here not for anything else, but to write content and also test out that content to see what it means with the students. Practical steps going forward. We have used 4 hours today and we cannot have an afternoon session. We have set ourselves to have 2 sessions a day when we organize double sessions, but each session should have 2 hours. This has been a very interesting session, but also we started, we joined, because it was the first session, we joined at different times, and we cannot in any way cheat the people who were here earlier. So we are not going to have an afternoon session. However, we shall have a second session tomorrow from 11 to 1 p.m. So please take note. And because of the difficulty in registration, we may be forced to change the link. Otherwise, the link was supposed to be the same, common, but we may be forced to change the link. So look out for communication to your lead person. If you're geography, if you're ICT, then Mr. Kalema will be getting back to you. If you are here and you're mathematics, physics, then probably Mr. Dung will get back to you, or another person might get back to you, depending on who contacted you to this session. Just to note that these sessions have been organized for a few people because they are within a framework of writing content, and therefore we have a goal. And as you reflect on what you are taking from here, you should also be deciding whether you feel this is what you want to do or you want to drop off at some point. So this evening, we shall take off time as organizers to reflect on this meeting, to reflect on Mr. Mulumba's key questions. Do you want to do content mastery or concept mastery? For me, that is the learning that I've taken, so that we reorganize our program to suit what we feel we want to do as the holistic e-learning platform. Not that we don't know what we want to do, but there are challenging questions that Mr. Mulumba has left behind. I call it provoking questions. I would like to request the physics maths team on the holistic WhatsApp workshop WhatsApp platform to read the messages I've posted there for you and take note. I'm going to be doing the data refund to all of you who have attended here. And this will be following the registration list that you have created here, but also confirmation from your lead person who invited you to to this workshop. With that, I think we've exhausted our time online. It's not so good to keep people online, and that is a key thing when you are designing lessons for your students or when you are conducting Zoom lessons. For us, we believe that when you go beyond 2 hours, you have overstepped. But because it was so enjoyable, we kept here. So with that, I want to thank the PIT team, the PIT members, and we didn't introduce Arthur, the head teacher of Mwiri. Could you open your mic and greet us and also close this session? Arthur, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dungu. Members, I want to thank you for coming. Mr. Matthias Murumba, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We have not remained the same. I'm sure everybody appreciates this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a continuous learning process. We continue developing ourselves in this new learning environment called e-learning. I'm sure that every day you learn something new. And when this happens, you've added value to yourself and the people around you. Those experiences shared here by Mr. Murumba have been eye-openers for all of us. And I think we shall do a better job going forward. I want to thank the organizers, Mr. Dungu, Mr. Kalema, Mr. Alan Kakinda, for finding time to make sure that this happens. At Busoga College Mwiri, we are doing our best. We have set up our platform. We are collaborating, because now the way things are going is that demand that we must be able to collaborate. A good teacher of physics in Chisubi should be able to teach somebody in Kotido. A good math teacher in Gayaza should be able to teach somebody in Tororo, so that we share information. Thank you for organizing the boys and girls, because the sessions that have happened have been very good for members. We have been able to share information through these seminars, and they have worked. It shows that things can be done. I want to call upon you to be part of this big evolving team called Holistic E-Learning Project. Thank you for coming, for the time. I have seen members from Busoga College Mwiri. Thank you for attending. I've seen names. I want to thank all of you for coming for this seminar. I hope and pray that we can meet tomorrow so that we can continue learning. I want to wish you a nice weekend. Until tomorrow, have a good day. Thank you, Mr. Dungu, for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambalde. I request, if you can, put on your video so that we can take a photo moment, as I also give what I call my assignment for you to take with you and probably carry with you tomorrow. So if you can, please put on your video. Never mind if you're in the garden, we shall be able to take that. After all, we seemingly want to know the context in which we are going to be writing this, these materials. So I'm coming on with my assignment, but let me take some photos here. I hope someone else is also helping me to take some nice photos that we can use to show that this session happened, and for Mr. Mulumba to report on that he did sensitize people. Mr. Mulumba, we have over 500 plus teachers on our WhatsApp platforms, and we came to learn so that we can go back to teach them, but we cannot teach them before you talk to them. I know You met some of them in the senior one session we had last weekend. But I think next weekend on 14th, like we planned, we will have to arrange and see if we can get all of them to that session so that you repackage. I don't know now how you repackage it, but don't mind for some of us who have been here, but you repeat this session for the 500 plus teachers that we have, and we shall mobilize them to make sure they come. So my assignment says, my 4 questions that I am leaving with you, what have you learned in this session? And you are going to put these either in that PowerPoint or in that Word document. But my first quadrant, what have you learned? The second question, what does it mean to you as someone joining help to design learning content? What does it mean to you as somebody joining help to design learning content? The third question, what further questions do you have? What further questions do you have? Now, I will add an addition to the second one. A section. How does it impact you? What you have learned, how does it impact you? Or how is it impacting you? Tell us. Because there might be some changes going on now, or that will go on. And the last question, what more do you need to know and where are you going to find it? What more do you need to know and where are you going to find it? With that, I want to wish you a good afternoon until we meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. Let's be prompt. Bye-bye.